Luigi, thanks everybody for being here today. My name is Karen Friedman Agnifilo, and I'm here with Jacob Kaplan and the rest of Luigi Mangione's legal team. My intention was not to give a press conference, not to give remarks, and not to speak outside of court, because I think the most important thing is to speak in court on the record. But since video cameras, the application for a video of today's proceeding was denied, I thought I would give the remarks that I gave in court out here so that the people who are interested in hearing what's happening to Luigi Mangione can hear what's happening to Luigi Mangione. So I'm going to do my best to stick to the remarks that were given in court. First, I want to start by talking about the fact that Luigi Mangione remains in federal custody, where he is being prosecuted in 3 jurisdictions: by the federal government, by New York State, and by Altoona, Pennsylvania. But he's being held in federal custody, and the Department of Justice has refused to allow him to be in state custody, despite the fact that they've all agreed that the state court is going to go first. Now, this is problematic for several reasons. Number one, the federal government is still considering whether to execute Luigi and considering whether to seek the death penalty. So we are fighting that simultaneously while going first here in state court. And it impacts our ability to meet with him before court, after court. He's constantly surrounded by law enforcement. He's in shackles. He was wearing a vest today. Some looked like I don't even know what it looked like, but a very serious vest with his legs shackled and his arms shackled. And so he's being treated differently because he's being held in federal custody than any other person who would be facing serious murder one charges in New York State court. And I made a record in court today that I don't understand what this show of danger is for. When I go visit Luigi at MDC in Brooklyn, I sit with him. He is unshackled. He walks around freely in the visiting area. We sit in a room together without law enforcement hovering over us. But for whatever reason, here, despite all the law enforcement, they need him to be wearing this vest. They need him to be shackled, and they stand right over us, and we get no time with him. So he is being treated differently because of this unusual and, frankly, just the fact that he's being prosecuted by 3 jurisdictions for one event. It all is about one thing, one single event. So we object to that. We also made a record today that although the Manhattan DA's office has been providing discovery, we're past the discovery deadline, but they have made an effort to provide discovery, and we appreciate it. But what we haven't received is the police paperwork from New York City. We haven't received any of, they call them DD5s. Those are the follow-up police reports that detectives write. I am sure there will be hundreds of them, and we have not received those yet. Very important. We've also just today received the discovery regarding the arrest in the Altoona case, and we've received a little of that previously, and we are concerned that Luigi's constitutional rights were violated in Pennsylvania, and there are serious search and seizure issues that will be litigated in that case in Pennsylvania and in this case here and in the federal case, because it is alleged that Luigi had a gun on him and had other property on him that they are going to use against him in all of the cases. And if there is a search and seizure issue, and again, we have to review all of the paperwork and camera footage when we receive it before we say definitively whether we think there is one. But so far what we are seeing is we think there is a serious search and seizure issue. And so we want the opportunity to litigate it, including in Pennsylvania, where he was supposed to have a court date on February 24th, but the Department of Justice is refusing to transport him and allow him to face the charges in Pennsylvania. So he cannot litigate those issues in Pennsylvania. And which brings me to the most important point that we made today, which is Luigi's right to a fair trial is being infringed upon because he is being publicly treated as guilty and as having the presumption of guilt as opposed to the presumption of innocence, which is what he is entitled to. And although of course, I understand the NYPD's need for a press conference before an arrest or after an arrest, which they did here. I didn't like it, but they did it, and I understood it. What I did not understand was how shocking it was that this week on HBO, in a documentary, I see the chief of detectives and the New York City mayor, full hair and makeup done, sitting down and giving an interview for television and talking about the evidence in Luigi's case, talking about police paperwork that we don't have, talking about forensics that we have not yet received. I guess we have now today, but I didn't when I was sitting there learning about the case, hearing an actor play Luigi reading from a journal that they say is Luigi's, and we have yet to receive it from the prosecution. And so it's outrageous that they have time to go and prejudice Mr. Mangione's ability to receive a fair trial and go out and make these statements, but not give this to us. And so we are concerned, because if the chief of detectives is telling everybody about all this evidence, and what if it ultimately gets suppressed because it was an illegal search and seizure in Altoona, Pennsylvania, how is he going to get a fair trial? So those are a little bit more than I was allowed to say in court, but that's the gist of it. That's what my prepared remarks were, and hopefully will allow cameras in the court going forward. If not, I will continue to provide information. We put up a website that just has basic information. It's luigimangioneinfo.com, and we will post a transcript of today's proceeding on that website, and that's where we are going to be providing hopefully accurate information about this case. I apologize, I'm not going to take any questions, and I'm not going to make any other out-of-court statements, because this is truly intended just to be a recitation of what happened in court. But one last thing is, Luigi really wanted to thank the supporters for being here, and we all appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
Do you want to say something about using a referendum on the healthcare industry?
We have a huge update on Luigi's case because his attorney in Pennsylvania, Thomas Dickey, filed new court documents on Friday saying that Luigi's rights were violated during his McDonald's arrest. And he's saying that any evidence that was found on Luigi should not be allowed to be used in court. This could be huge because, remember, allegedly they had found a weapon on him, a suspected 3D printed silencer, a red notebook that they call the manifesto where he had allegedly confessed in, nearly $8,000, almost $2,000 in foreign currency, a Polaroid camera, and a Greyhound bus ticket from Philly to Pittsburgh. Now let's get into the court filings and why Thomas Dickey is saying that his rights were violated. As you know, when somebody is being arrested or questioned and they can't leave, your Miranda rights have to be read to you. Court filings say that officers questioned and searched Luigi without reading him Miranda rights, making any statements or evidence they uncovered inadmissible in court. Thomas Dickey goes on to say any reasonable person in Luigi's position would have thought that he or she was being restrained, detained, and otherwise not free to leave. New filing also offers new details about what happened that day in McDonald's. Apparently, Luigi had been at McDonald's for about 30 minutes and two officers arrived. They entered McDonald's and blocked Luigi from leaving as he sat at a corner table by forming a human law enforcement wall around him. The aggressive posture of the officers effectively detained Luigi, he says. Then officers told him to provide identification and ordered him to put his hands on his head. At no time did the two officers indicate that he was free to go, nor did they explain the reasons as to why he was being detained, other than that he looked suspicious and or overstayed his welcome as a customer at McDonald's. More police soon arrived, and as many as 10 officers blocked him from leaving. The effective detainment and further questioning came without officers reading Miranda rights, which include his rights to remain silent and the right to an attorney. At one point, Luigi shook his head to say he didn't want to talk to police, and an officer said he wasn't in custody. This was materially false, inaccurate, and contrary to law. Police only informed him he was under investigation about 15 minutes into his detainment and only read Miranda rights after almost 20 minutes of questioning. And of course, they also searched his bag and found allegedly all this evidence. Like I said, this is huge for Luigi, and if this evidence cannot be used in court, then they really have nothing.
Absolutely, there are issues here with this cop's conduct, if proven true. But it isn't going to toss out the case. It isn't going. I don't think the firearm that was located in his bag. I'm not sure, but I don't think it was the same firearm that was used. Different caliber is my understanding, but I could be wrong in that. And if it's not, it just I don't. Even if it is, I don't think they need that firearm to prove their case. But if I'm a prosecutor and this cop fucked up the search of that bag, I'm pissed. I'm really pissed at these cops. And if I'm a defense lawyer, properly, filing in my motions, doing everything, I pounce.
Luigi Mangione case update. A massive update. Altoona Police Department may have screwed up their initial arrest of Luigi Mangione. Yes, the actual arrest might have violated his rights, as well as Miranda rights not being read to him. The fact that they isolated him and tried to remove his information as well as his material goods without any probable cause might actually get all of this case thrown out, because the fact of the matter is that by illegally obtaining the evidence or materials within the backpack, that would stop them from actually being able to charge him with anything. What do you guys think? Please leave a comment and repost. Yes, there are documentations now being released showing that the Altoona Police Department actually unlawfully obtained as well as detained Luigi Mangione prior to arrest. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, repost.
Luigi Mangione, which we all know by now is obviously the suspect for the killing of Brian Thompson, aka the CEO of United Healthcare, may actually walk free soon. Now, there's something very specific about Brian Thompson that I noticed not a lot of individuals in mainstream media ever talked about, which I'll get to here in a second. But here's why Luigi might actually walk free. Now, Mangione's next hearing has actually been scheduled for June 26, okay? Now, additionally, federal prosecutors have not yet decided on whether to pursue the death penalty against Mangione, which would make no fucking sense. Now, if he is found guilty on the federal charge of murder, he could possibly be facing the death penalty, yes. But regarding the McDonald's arrest, it may all lead to a mistrial. A Blair County defense attorney asked the judge to release Luigi Mangione from custody due to him being unlawfully interrogated and searched before his arrest in Altoona. And an arrest that really made no sense to begin with. I mean, a manifesto, really? So just imagine that that's the reason of why he gets to walk free. And that's not even the only possibility, okay? You also have the chances of jury nullification. Now, jury nullification is a term that's used to describe a situation when a jury, on the basis of their own sense of judgment, by the way, refuses to convict a defendant despite sufficient evidence of guilt. The possible reason as to why Mangione could get a chance of being acquitted also comes from the huge amount of sympathy, might I mention, coming from the public for him. But not only just that sympathy voices the same concern over not just modern American politics, but the nation's healthcare system as him. And juries may use jury nullification to protect Americans from tyrannical government for the constitutional right and enshrinement of trial by jury. Now, I'm not saying that that's definitely going to happen, but is it a possibility? I mean, yeah. As for Brian Thompson, though, there's something very important that so many are not pointing out, which obviously I would never agree with murder, okay? Let's just get that straight. But let's do keep in mind, okay, there was an investigation being done by the DOJ to investigate the relationship between United Health's various business segments, that including Optum if you don't know, and as a result, the company's stock declined by up to $27 per share, or $25 billion in shareholder value. And here's the thing, right? United Health was aware of the DOJ investigation at least since October of 2023. And instead of disclosing that information to investors or even to the public, United Health insiders sold more than $120 million, might I mention, of their personally held United Health shares. Stephen Hemsley, which is the former CEO of United Health Group, sold over $102 million of his personally held shares, while Brian Thompson sold over $15 million of his shares. And somehow people will still find an excuse to support and defend that man. Once again, I will never justify what happened, okay? And do I think that Luigi is the one responsible for his death? No. But do I think that the people are tired of being taken advantage of? Yes. What does this infrastructural society really do for you and me? That's an honest question, because 90% of you at least work your entire lives laboring yourselves away just to get to an age of retirement. Just to be able to barely get by. And still somehow, so many of you still choose to support our leaders that somehow led us up to this point. We are in a floating celestial plane, people, and somehow we work our entire lives away. Don't you think that there should be a greater purpose for humanity? Don't you all think that we're worth a lot fucking more than you think you are already? We deserve to live free and in balance with nature. But yet we as humanity literally destroy everything around us and anybody around us as well. We continue to bring ourselves down, we continue to lower our vibrations, and we continue to waste our lives away. all while assuming that these methods and practices in quotations actually benefit us to begin with. This beautiful green realm supplies every single necessity that we really do require. But instead, so many of you feel as if you should require financial stability and materialism. Where did we go wrong, people? And when are we actually going to get back on the right track? If you think that starts with Donald Trump, you need to start looking at both sides of the same coin, okay? Because once you do, the bigger picture actually starts to become much more clear.
A motion was just filed by Luigi Mangione's Pennsylvania attorney today. After 17 minutes of Luigi Mangione being unlawfully detained and interrogated, Officer Fox finally decided to read Luigi Mangione his Miranda rights. After they read Luigi Mangione his Miranda rights, they asked him, "Do you want to speak?" And Luigi Mangione shook his head no. The officer responded saying, "You are not in custody right now." And according to Luigi Mangione's attorney, that statement is completely false because he was in police custody. The attorney goes a step further and says, in fact, he's been in custody since his illegal, unlawful seizure. Now, what does this all mean regarding Luigi Mangione or Luigi Mangione? It means that Luigi Mangione might have a mistrial. If you don't know about Miranda rights, it's basically requiring police to inform suspects of their rights to remain silent and have an attorney present during custodial interrogation, with failure to do so potentially rendering evidence inadmissible. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, and make sure to engage with this video. That way the algorithm brings you back for another update. Peace!
Luigi, how are you going to plead?
Luigi Mangione is seen leaving court just moments ago.
This came after a hearing ended in his state murder case. He's facing charge of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. His lawyer addressed camera shortly after leaving the courtroom.
He's being treated differently because he's being held in federal custody than any other person who would be facing serious murder one charges in New York State court.
Our Trevor Old is just outside court there, joins me now along with our legal contributor and managing partner at the Cochran firm, Shauna Lloyd. So Trevor, tell us what happened in court.
Well, one of the big questions, Kira, was whether or not a judge was going to set the trial date, and that did not happen inside court. We had a reporter who was there inside, and the main purpose of this hearing was evidentiary. They were going to have the prosecution and the defense go over the evidence that they both obtained through discovery so far, and Luigi Mangione's attorney said that there are very serious issues, in her opinion, with how police in Pennsylvania obtained some of the evidence that they have acquired, at least so far, through the process of discovery. They didn't get too far into detail in that regard, but they did say that this was a small amount of evidence and that there will likely be much more in this case. So while we thought maybe there was a possibility at the end of this hearing we would get a date for the start of the trial for Luigi Mangione, we did not only did we not get that, but now we know it's not going to happen for the next several months at least. There are a couple due dates that were set by the judge, talking about the defense making all their motions and then the prosecution can respond. That's not until May. And then all of the rulings that are outstanding, that deadline is not until the end of June. So we would presume that the earliest that we would see this trial begin is July. We also know that inside this hearing, Mangione's attorney, who we just heard from, where she talked about how he is being treated differently than other people who are facing charges, at one point she asked the judge if they could remove Mangione's shackles, and the judge denied that. He said essentially, unless he is signing something, he's going to keep wearing those shackles. Now, I don't believe Mangione said anything while he was there in court today. We are now continuing to move forward with the discovery process, but so far, no date as of yet for Luigi Mangione's trial to begin, but looks like it won't begin until July at the earliest, guys.
Okay, so Shauna, reality check here. There's a very high-profile case. Looks like a tough case, right? He's got a manifesto about, why he did it. They can track his bike through the bike he rented through Manhattan, and there are the videos as well. So there's all kinds of things that make it difficult. So what is the defense lawyer trying to do here? And what about her claim that he's being treated differently? He shouldn't be in federal custody.
Well, Terry, there's a couple of things here. First, we have to remember that
most of what is going to happen next is the defense attempting to exclude evidence that they don't feel should be entered during trial. So there's going to be a flurry of motions about a lot of the information that they've gotten through discovery. His tracking, how they got it will be under examination. They'll be looking at whether or not it was statements before his Miranda rights. Should those be thrown out? So the defense is going to look at all the evidence the state has and try to have most of it not enter into trial. And so we'll see those motions to exclude coming up. Now, her argument that he's being treated differently, we do know that there's a lot of public interest in this. I mean, this is a very unusual trial. The fact that there are even supporters that are outside of the courthouse, just speaks to what this is invoking in individuals. So, the judge deciding to keep him in shackles is not necessarily unusual in and of itself. There are many times I go to court with my clients and they're still in shackles. That part of it is not actually something that's unusual, especially in a hearing. There is no jury present. It is simply counsel and the judge. So that part is not as unusual as she's making it out to be.
Call this a conspiracy. I don't care. I think the feds are sabotaging Luigi in so many ways. I've been watching the coverage, and here's why I'm saying that. First of all, they're not letting cameras into the courtroom. Why? Second of all, he's shackled and wearing vests. Why? He's innocent until proven guilty. Third of all, the New York City detective and mayor went on to HBO to discuss the evidence that they have on Luigi, and his own lawyer didn't get this evidence. So she said, this is ridiculous because they're showing this evidence, and if they recall this evidence, then they're tainting or messing up the fair trial that he could possibly have. He has a court hearing in Altoona, PA, which he is not allowed to show up for because New York will not transfer him out. The other thing she said was that they collected and handled the evidence incorrectly in Altoona, and there's a question about what he actually did have on him and if that's admissible in court. Apparently the chants were so loud that Luigi could hear it from the courtroom. They're treating him like he's guilty. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I really think they're setting this up. I think it's already decided what's going to happen. I think they're going to give him the death penalty, which apparently they talked about today. And I think it's already done. I know this is a conspiracy. It feels like sabotage.
For the first time, accused killer Luigi Mangione opened up from his jail cell, writing he's grateful for those who have shared their support. The message was posted to a new website set up by his lawyers to handle what they describe as an extraordinary amount of attention around the case. Mangione faces 11 charges in New York, including terrorism-related murder charges and weapons offenses in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last December. Thompson, a husband and father of two from Minnesota, was shot in the back. Mangione has pleaded not guilty. He also faces multiple charges in Pennsylvania and in federal court after a 6-day manhunt ended with his arrest in western Pennsylvania. A fund set up for Mangione's legal defense has been flooded with more than $500,000.
There have been certain defendants that in the course of time have captivated the public interest. We can think back to the horrendous crimes committed by Charles Manson. And yet, whenever Manson would have a hearing over all of the years, we would learn that he got letters and postcards and gifts from women while he was in prison. And he was one of the worst criminals that America has ever seen. Well, that type of cult following is exactly what is happening here. And to say it is bizarre and unusual is certainly an understatement.
One of the federal charges against Mangione makes him eligible for the death penalty if he's convicted. A hearing set for Monday in Pennsylvania has been canceled.
All right, we have some big Luigi news coming out of Pennsylvania, where Luigi's attorney, Thomas Dickey, filed with the court basically saying that his arrest, there were a lot of things not done properly. And let's talk about them because these are big. The first one is that he wasn't read his Miranda rights. According to Thomas Dickey, law enforcement continued questioning and interrogating Luigi without ever having properly read him his rights. Now, on top of that, they also gave him a specious and unreasonable answer as to why they approached him in the first place, because remember, he was just sitting at McDonald's. Now, let me tell you why this is such a big deal. If a Pennsylvania judge rules that Luigi's rights were violated, then anything and everything that they got for him that day from that search could be thrown out. Now, if you're wondering if this would get his whole case tossed out, very, very unlikely. However, it could really complicate things for prosecutors and give defense the upper hand and more leverage in some of these negotiations. Now listen, we all know that this type of content is being, pushed down. So make sure that you hit the follow button and drop your thoughts about this in the comments. More than 5 words helps it get it out there to more people. But anyways, yeah, this could be an absolute game changer for the Luigi Mangione case.
Luigi Mangione, massive update. Evidence collected and the motion that the defense attorney is going to submit against the materials collected from Luigi Mangione. Yes, in the Luigi Mangione case, as you're aware, there was evidence that was collected and gathered at the point in time where Luigi Mangione was arrested. Now, that being said, the defense team is now looking at the validity and ability to actually have collected that and actually seized it as being lawful or unlawful. What does that mean? It means that some of the evidence could have actually been taken without proper authority. And if that is the case, then those would be thrown out. What evidence are they talking about? That would be the supposed notebook with the so-called manifesto in it, as well as the P.O.V, which has still not been tied to the unaliving. Luigi Mangione case has a lot of updates. Please follow me and repost this and leave comments so that more people see this.
So y'all do know that that whole Luigi Mangione thing, that's a psyop. Yeah, like that's a scam. That's not even real. That's a fake thing. That's bogus. It's just a bunch of mishmash. Like none of that shit actually happened. I just wanted to circle back around because like so many things have been going on. It's just like day after day after day, it's something new. But yeah, circling back, that didn't happen. That's just a show. It's like a commercial. You know what I mean? It's like a commercial. That's what that was. It was a commercial.